Yo, what's up? This is Hector Santiago, and I'm telling you to tune in to Rose Above It podcast every Wednesday. We here live. You heard?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to, I don't even know what episode this is. So many. Episode 10 of Rose Above It. I'm T Rose.
Hey, what's up? I'm Suave.
It's your boy Lionel.
Yo, we got a special guest. We got Mr. Stop and Shake in the building. Hector.
Yo.
Thank you for being here, boy.
Thank you for having me.
Yo, actually, tell everybody what Stop and Shake is, man.
Stop and Shake is a citywide initiative here in Yonkers. And we've moved up to all over Westchester. It's a social icebreaker for everyone and anyone to go and approach a police officer or vice versa and just start the dialogue. Through the program, I've been able to engage youth in Rikers Island, Valhalla, several colleges. I've been featured in a few books. So it's been an awesome road, man. I can't front.
Is this happening only in Yonkers or is there other areas?
So right now, Yonkers, Mount Vernon have made it part of their policy. Any officer that comes into the force and graduates the force leaves with all the information of the Stop and Shake and the understanding of what's the purpose, and use it as a de-escalation tool in the streets. Right now, I'm in talks with Westchester County. They want to make it a Westchester County-wide initiative.
Okay.
I have a pilot in 68th in the Bronx. I think it's the 43rd precinct. Running the pilot. I've spoken to the Yankees managers. They're going to sponsor the tri-state marketing once the boroughs pick it up. So it's definitely expanding. It was just kind of waiting for me to develop the substance.
How do you get officers involved? Are they willing? Are there officers that said I don't want any officers?
I've heard backlash both sides, cops and communities. Cops are like, nah, I'm not gonna stop a community member's hand. They're gonna spit in their hand and shake my hand. People in the community say the same exact thing about cops, and I get it.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of people in between who just get the importance of the intimacy it takes in dialogue. The importance it takes to go and shake someone's hand. So yeah, a lot of cops, younger cops, I would say, have been receptive to it. The older cops are kind of conditioned to the old ways, and we got to kind of pull them out. So, but overall, yeah, it's been good. It's been real good.
How do you feel you know what I'm saying, we live in a world now where there's a lot of violence going on with cops and, community, for instance.
Right.
How does, how is it to bring the community towards being friendly with cops, just building a relationship with cops? Because there's for the past few years there's been a lot of violence with cops and the community, especially African Americans.
No, absolutely, not absolutely, specifically African Americans. But I think that the importance, especially me, I try to tell my hood, right? If you're not gonna stop and shake a cop, stop and shake the people calling the cops on you. Because the only reason they're calling the cops on you is because they can't speak to you personally.
Mm-hmm.
If they can go outside and say, yo, I smell that, or hey, your music is too loud, they wouldn't call the cops. But the fear of the altercation or the violence that may happen between you and them, they rather call the cops and let that happen between you and them. And vice versa. I tell officers the importance. I started the program because I grew up in Yonkers, born and raised. I ran with a gang. I sold drugs. I did everything I did, back in the days. But even when I transitioned my life and I started my activism and I was trying to do the right thing, it didn't take my mom out of college. It didn't take my mom out the hood. I'm still living in the hood, so I'm always seeing the hood. It didn't change the way I dressed. So I was still getting questioned. Cops will stop me and say, hey, where you going? What you doing? And through that, it all started with the Eric Garner situation.
Mm-hmm.
When the Eric Garner situation happened, I threw a protest here in Yonkers and had about roughly 1,200 people turn out. And we marched around the square. We did a die-in in front of the police department. We wanted answers. But in between that, the officers that were in the area, I kind of told them, I said, hey, look, if you stand against this violence also, don't surround us, stop and shake our hands, introduce yourselves. And that's kind of where it branched off from. So to answer your question, I think that overall relationships are important, There's no reason why we should live in a building with 50 people in the building and not know one of your neighbors.
Yep.
So use the Stop and Shake as that icebreaker to meet the people in your community or local officers.
Yeah. So you just talked about marching through the square. You do a march to Albany?
Yeah. I walked to Albany last year to raise awareness on mental health. I personally was going through a lot. I was going through a crazy breakup. I had a lot of life challenges that was coming. I was questioning not only my identity, but just things that there was just so much like leading to last year, and it was a pivotal point of my whole life, just getting thrown in front of me. And my friend had committed suicide, and after that, after that, I realized that I tapped into his story, and I realized that he didn't have access to mental health services. He didn't have insurance. He didn't have, there was not enough funding in Yonkers to deal with that community. And so I walked to Governor Cuomo's office in Albany. It was 172 miles. My Fitbit said 198,000 steps. And it took me 6 days.
6 day walk.
6 days.
Hold on. So 6 days. Hold on.
6 day trip.
Yeah, it takes 3 hours to drive, I think.
It takes 3 hours
That
to
was
drive.
Martin Luther King.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. But I didn't ask much people to come with me, because then of course I would be in charge of where they slept, ate, and I knew how much I can handle daily. So I just encouraged every town to kind of walk me through, and it was amazing. Yonkers residents walked me to Hastings. There was a few people in Hastings that walked me to Dobbs, and it just kept going all the way up. And it was amazing. I met so many different people that were going through mental health issues. Seniors, youth, Hispanic, Black, young, old, like vets. People are just like silently suffering.
Still, man. So,
nuts.
what's your take on mental health? Like, who's affected most by, you think, by mental health issues? You think it's inner city youth? You think it's people who, because a lot of people who we think have everything, like we just saw in the media, K-Spade and Anthony Bourdain, they all committed suicide, and these are people who quote unquote have the world.
Right.
So who's affected more, us or them?
I feel like when it comes to mental health, it's a genderless bias issue. There's people rich and there's people poor committing suicide. Of course, you hear about the rich people more, but there's people in our communities doing it all the time. Minorities, Hispanics and Blacks, a lot of the time because of the social economic issues we go through, because of the conditioning we've received throughout the years in the hood. There's so many things that play into mental health, and there's almost 200 classified cases under mental health. So you have depression, schizophrenia. There's a plethora of things that fall under mental health issues. And again, that's why everything goes back to like that stop and shake mentality. You stop and shake your neighbors, man. People are silently suffering right around us. So and I tell people, I see a lot of people sharing this stuff online with Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, and it's unfortunate what happened to them. But if you're touched by their stories, go out, talk to one of your neighbors, and make sure it doesn't happen right here in our community.
I have a question. You ever watched the Cleve Browder?
Yes.
Cleve Browder.
Yeah. I went and spoke in Rikers Island last year.
Yeah, that documentary touched my heart, by the way. But what what he was going through, with the whole justice system, and
Listen, this is a young man. He was snatched off the streets. As a teenager, spent 2 years unjustly in Rikers. He got beat up. There was just so many things, and then to throw him back in the outside world with no reparation, no sorry, you completely took this kid's life away.
It's crazy because I see. My bad.
No.
I heard. So I was speaking to somebody at my job, and the first thing they said is, "Well, what was he doing outside to get locked up?" I'm like, "Yo."
Like it was ridiculous. He was coming from a party. It was documented, but they just didn't care about the evidence. There was people that said, "Look, he just left the house. He was going home." And that's something that troubles me sometimes, because in our communities, right, we don't have backyards. Right? In the suburbs, you got a backyard, so they hang out in their backyard. We don't have backyards, so we hang out in the front. If we hang out in the front, cops come and tell us, "Yo, move." You know, so when I talk to cops a lot, I tell them like, hey, look, use the Stop and Shake to go talk to them. You never know, they probably just outside chilling. You don't know if their parents an addict and they don't want to be upstairs, you know, addicted to something. So it's just, you know, effective communication, not only within your family but in the community, is super important.
Do you think that like this mental health issue, because you know, us, we live in an urban area, urban and suburban, like, you know, city area, you know what I'm saying?
Young, because it's kind of
yeah. But I'm saying, like, you know, a lot of young kids we know go through they have violent phases where it's like some kids turn into the, you know, that gang life, the street life. Do you think that it's something in our community, like, is that a mental thing as far as just like a mental thing as far as being in the city, or is that like you think?
I think violence affects everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's everywhere. It's in the music. It's in the videos. I mean, it goes back as far since slavery. You know, before slavery. I mean, as long as you can think of a world, there's violence. You know.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say in our community specifically, we see it more because of like the systematic oppression, the socioeconomic standings. Again, the backgrounds of our families, how they got here, what they've learned, and so. I say that to say, like, violence has touched almost every household in America, but it's just, I want to, not to be like cliche, but it's like all on the eye of the beholder, you know?
Yeah.
People don't really see signs of violence, but don't even see signs, like, speaking of violence, like, I want to jump into like domestic violence, right? So like domestic violence, that's something that continues on, and it's so subconscious in our community, right? To the sense where sometimes guys like girls with an attitude, right? And who's jealous and all these little things, right? But those are subconsciously signs of like insecurities and can lead to violence. Vice versa, you know, because there's men in the same way. And I think that it's so subtle in our community that we just don't see it, like domestic violence specifically. And yeah, man, it's just like everywhere we live in and everything we do. We watch videos and if you go on Facebook, the fight videos have the most views.
Yeah, it does, and that's it. And it's crazy because now, like, you know, growing up, as far as you, not grown, but you're grown now, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you having a daughter, your father now, is that scary to send your daughter into the world, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, is she in school yet?
Yeah. I have two daughters. I have a 9-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. Well, she's about to be 2. And I felt like I was scared of sending them out there, but we can never be too scared to send any of our kids out there because you can't prevent the inevitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what I can do is like prepare them to actually head out in the streets and to be like fully equipped for anything they may potentially come.
Yeah. Does it sound like, how do you prepare like a 9-year-old like?
It's in little sayings, man. Like my youngest daughter. Well, my oldest, it's through conversation. Like me and her have great conversations at 9 years old, you know. And sometimes I don't even know what to tell her when she asks me a question, but I'll Google it right in front of her. Even though I know the answer sometimes, I'll just Google it, like age appropriate way to answer this, right? And we'll have that conversation.
Okay.
One thing I had learned, and this was actually from someone in my past, that her father told her, you know, was don't crash into love, searching for love.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's these little sayings that, you know, you tell your kid now, they're like, yeah, whatever, Dad, but when they're teens, it'll all click. Like, I tell my daughter, if a guy offers you the moon, he better be studying astrology, or he better be trying to be a astronaut, you know? And right now, it makes no sense. She laughs it off. But later in life, she's going to sit back and be like, oh, wait, you know, when she hears little Rico Suave or younger me talking to her, you know.
Shaq, I know this must like resonate with you a little bit because you got a son,
Yes, sir.
you know, who's going to grow up in this world, a young black man, which is hard. You have to explain to him why certain things.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, that's always implanted in my head, like, ever since I found out, you know what I'm saying, I'm having a son, you know, since day one. You know, just definitely like everything that I'm going through, you know, I just have to, you know, just teach him, you know, not to make the same mistakes or, you know, something to dodge or, you know what I'm saying? Just the main thing though is I just want him to know that he can be himself wherever he goes.
Right.
That's the number one thing because a lot of people, they want to put on the mask, they want to be,
Right.
you know, something that they're not, but I just want number one teach him is to like to always be himself.
Right. Feel comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah, like love what you do,
Stay
do what you love. Like that's the most important thing in this world because
Absolutely.
you have people that's going into college not knowing what they're doing, and that's something that I made a mistake of. So that's something I can teach them as well. But like to always do what you love because that's the most important thing that you can go into within a career.
Yeah.
Right.
But also what's going on in the streets, that's automatic because I grew up on Uptown Bronx Gun Hill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not the safest place, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's just, you know, you learn about the street. You get street smart with them being into a community like that. And that's something I can teach them.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta, you know, especially being a young minority, black, Spanish, rap, whatever. You gotta know that there's certain places you gotta act a certain way in certain places.
Right.
It's just sad. Like if you go into Bronxville, right, you can't act the same way as you would if you chilling with your friends on the block. You know what I'm saying? It's just scary.
And I feel like, yo, we have that misconception that we shouldn't be like that,
Mhm.
right? And that's something that I've been trying to change. Like, the walk to Albany was like a pivotal part of my life, right? Because for the whole 6 days I was by myself, walking, you know, and kind of bouncing ideas. I didn't have nobody else's opinions in my head. I really had to battle my own thoughts, right? And that was one of the things that I thought about, like, integrity.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget about the integrity and holding integrity, right? And I say that to say, like, in our community, we might feel like if we go to Bronxville, we might want to use a few extra words that we have in our vocabulary, right, to kind of prove to the audience around us that we can speak the lingo, right? But then we kind of dumb it down when we get to the hood.
Yeah.
We're like, yo, hi, what's good? What's poppin', right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like
Your speech changes.
Right, and I feel like I used to do that sometimes, but sometimes you have to like hold integrity and be like, nah, each one teach one. So I am gonna come back to the hood and I am gonna use my vocabulary because I want my friends to learn.
Yeah. But I feel like again you gotta balance it out. You always gotta.
No, yeah, you always gotta stay true to yourself. Absolutely,
Yeah.
and hold that close. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
But I feel
one
like
thing-
once you learn something, you can't unlearn it, and you just gotta hold that close to you.
That's definitely
You know,
true.
and make it part of you as you move forward. So it's like if I learn these words that I didn't know, I'm gonna keep using them.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, like one thing is that, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to balancing out like street smart and then like actually book smart, it's good to balance it because you're expanding your knowledge into everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta expand your knowledge to, you know, again, also like it's gonna sound a little childish, but also have respect and also always keeping your head into the books as well. It's just
Yeah,
balancing, you know,
right.
yeah, of course.
Right.
You should tell Scotty that, by the way.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Takashi needs to stop and shake. Like,
Yeah, he does.
He needs to
He
stop.
does.
Like,
Like, he already does that, you know what I'm saying?
he did in
So I got a
Chicago.
question. So you guys talked about violence, right? But Tekashi 6ix9ine demonstrates violence.
Right.
So do we? I don't want to curse. We haven't cursed. Do we mess with Tekashi even though he demonstrates violence to our youth?
I feel like
Do
the
we?
only reason I have hope for Tekashi, right, is because I'm a firm believer on growth. Like, I'm not going to be the same way I was yesterday. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
tomorrow I'm different. But the fact that he's growing himself. We gotta remember, this kid came from the same hood background we came from. Overnight, few dollars, don't know how to act, and he has to go through his trials and errors to learn. So yeah, this is all he knows. It was like 50. 50 came out hard.
Right.
Murdered Ja Rule's career, right?
Definitely.
Murder. But now he knows it differently, and he kind of he's acting different because now he's producing. Now he got a lot to lose.
Right.
You know, and I feel like Tekashi's gonna get to. I think he's like 21 or
Yeah,
something
he
like
is. He's
that.
very young.
Right, he's
So do
super
you-
21. So
But he demonstrates a
Right,
different kind of violence.
right.
So
I think it's like
I'm half and half. I know how to differentiate a person from who they are and music.
Yeah.
Personally, that's why I'm able to listen to Kanye West.
Absolutely.
Personally, I'm able to listen to his album. I get it, and I get it. And I don't fuck with him.
That's it.
I don't. But hold up, let me finish. I don't think he. I don't agree with anything he said. Not a word. Not a syllable.
Right.
However, I see the same hypocrites that were talking F Kanye, they're not rocking with no more Kanye, and they're posting captions with the man's lyrics. And that to me is you being a hypocrite.
All the way
You're
to
just-
number one. Right.
You're feeding it. If we as a community didn't feed into popularity, a lot of things wouldn't be as great as a topic as we make it.
But just to let you know, I'm not one of those people. I still haven't heard the album. I was gonna be.
I feel you, and I can respect that. But the album is I actually like the album.
I can't.
I haven't heard it.
What? I've heard the album, and it's a phenomenal piece
I'm waiting
of
for
work.
It's fire. No.
Nas and the Kid
Am I gonna knock it every day? No. But I listened to it, I gave it that thought, and I can respect those that are not rocking with it. But the people that are hypocrites, I have such a big thing with hypocrites.
Wait, I don't want to. I'm here to talk with. I was gonna ask you. So, what's your opinion on Trump then?
Oh my God, the celebrity in chief.
Okay.
Yeah, he's. I feel like. All right, so I've learned to find love in hard places, right? And I feel like Trump is everything he is accustomed to. He is the epitome of America. I think Beyonce said it best. Beyonce said, "Racism is so American that if you go against racism, you seem un-American."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's kind of what Trump promotes, like this American way. And I feel like it's time, the only thing he's done right is two things. One, he lowered the standards to being a president. And I feel like, we have a chance for someone who's like-minded to kind of run and get in there. And what he did also was break the community norms when it comes to speaking, right? He said there's no political correctness, right? So I feel like the politicians now have to kind of, you can't beat them, join them, and we need to start using that to, be real. If you're a politician, all right, bet you don't believe in political correctness, so okay, what's going on in our communities? Our African American brothers are dying in the streets, our Hispanics are getting deported, be real, use that political correctness that he's throwing at us, reverse it back at him, because there are serious issues in our communities, and I feel like Democrats and Republicans are just not talking out about it because they don't want, they want to be politically correct. Now is the time to use that against him.
Oh yeah, I feel you on that. And also one thing, I feel like, I don't know, I might get heat for this, but I feel like when Obama was in office, I felt like as a whole we became too relaxed. You know what I'm saying? Right now we have so many different platforms that we're hitting, because we know that someone in the White House is just we disagree with. So it's everybody now is just okay. We know, we gotta do something, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta get our voice, to get our voice heard, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like when Obama was in office, everybody was just we can relax now, black man in office. Yeah, he's gonna fix all our problems. Yeah. But meanwhile, he did 1%.
Yeah, but he couldn't fix what he came into.
Over 300 years of
what he came into was hard to fix within.
He fixed a lot of things.
But he did a lot. But I get what you're saying.
I definitely get what you're saying.
I get what you're
comfortable. That's a fact.
Yeah.
A lot of people did get comfortable and didn't continue that, because to get President Obama in, you even had P. Diddy, vote or die. Everybody was in it. It was a thing to do. It was trendy. So a lot of young voters registered. But once we got him in, everybody kind of laid back, stopped doing the local elections, stopped registering, stopped voting locally. And I think the local ones are the most important ones.
The ones that affect the rest.
Absolutely, right? Because these are our representatives in the Senate, and then it keeps going on and going on. And so we have to really get out there, get young people to register, and after each president, you don't really start seeing the substance of what they do till a few years, almost 4 or 5 years after they've left.
Exactly
what I mean? So there's little things happening, and they're giving all the hoo-yah to Trump, but these are really the after effects of a lot of things Obama did while being in office, but it was just harder at the time.
Yeah, and I feel like now, I don't know about you guys, but now with Trump in office, I just see a whole lot of different platforms just rising. Like a whole, like people from local areas. Like it could be in different states and local areas.
You're right.
Being podcasts, being artists, and it's just like with anything with art now, it's just like it's evolving because with Trump in office, they just like
He showed everybody.
If he can change the world and he can do this, what am I doing? Like you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
I feel like that's one thing. We just stopped becoming like comfortable and just notice that like we gotta step our shit up.
Right, and get messages out. Right, absolutely.
That's for sure.
And I think it should. Like I think I forgot who said. I saw it on CNN the other night, and somebody said that like one thing Trump did was wake America up. Like we were kind of chill and relax, just riding the wave, and now we're like, oh wait, hold up. So since Trump got into office, we've had the highest women in office rate.
Mm-hmm.
There's more African American women and men running now more than ever across the nation. You know what I mean? From young to old.
Oh my goodness!
Shout out to Yonkers, right here. This district Councilwoman Shanae. She's a young African American woman.
Yes.
I think she's like 25
Yeah,
or something like that. She's so awesome. And she's for this district. She's for us. She gets it. So yeah, vote locally.
Yo, so did I say English Prime Minister?
Nah, I don't think so. Nah.
So Barbados just elected their first woman prime minister.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
And she's a lesbian.
Right.
A proud lesbian.
Right.
And if people don't know, the Caribbean is very religious.
That's super taboo,
and
right?
they don't really, and I was so...
Big ups, right. And I think they also have a young woman who's like the CEO of an airline in Barbados.
Yeah.
Young African American.
Y'all over there inspired.
You know what I'm saying? She got a lingerie line now.
Yeah.
Shout out to that.
Yo, hey, what's the toughest thing you ever rose above?
The toughest thing I ever rose above, I would have to say my conditioning. Like what my family kind of installed into me growing up. That was the biggest thing I had to overcome because when I transitioned my life, it was battling everything I learned with everything I know. You know, like he said, book smart and street smart.
Yeah.
So it's like learning all these things and then learning how to make everything applicable to it. You know, it was hard. Like I stopped going to school in 9th grade, right? And then from 9th grade, I lived my life, and then I went straight to getting a full scholarship at Mount St. Vincent, right, at 27. So for like 10 plus years, I didn't go to school or nothing. And then when I went back to school, I had already started the scholarship. I had already received a few proclamations. I was on the boards. I felt like I was living life. I had it. Right?
Yeah.
And then I got to school, and I was like, wait, what? Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Right. It was like baby steps. It was culture shock, you know? And I think that was one of the biggest things. And I'm constantly trying to rise above everything because the bar always gets set higher every time I learn something and I reach my goal. But that was one of the biggest overcoming to know that, you know what, this is what my family taught me, and I have to hold my own integrity with what I learned, and I can't completely keep doing that type of stuff. I like to say I'm I want to say a white sheep from a black flock. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my family don't understand why I do what I do, why I volunteer, why I care about other people. They're like, yo, do you, mind your business.
Make your money.
You know, right. So it was just overcoming that and just telling myself you can do whatever you want.
So before we go, I just want to just say, like, let's not to being ourselves, just be yourself. Like, can we just because you live in a world where it's just like, it's hard to be yourself because you have so many opinions, so many suggestions. It could be from your family, it could be from your job, it could be from like anybody. And you take that all in and then you just forget to actually be yourself and actually want what you want. You know what I'm saying? So just be yourself.
Shaq must start giving us our daily, our weekly.
Meditation.
Quarter of the week. That's your new job. Quarter of the week, Shaq.
He should know that. This is Shaq's motivational quote.
Yeah, that's how Shaq closes with that one.
So before we get out of here, we gotta talk about what's going on in the gallery. So we got Threadworks on and popping right now. I've seen this a couple of times and it's lit. I feel like this is probably one of my most favorite
I don't.
exhibits.
You gotta know how to knit to do
It's
this?
just so, huh?
You gotta know how to knit to do this?
No, they got sculptures in the back with like,
Yeah,
I don't even know what it is.
this
Like,
show is
foil. I
amazing.
don't even know. Julie, of course,
Julie,
who's
shout out
not
to
here,
Julie.
not here right now, but
Yes,
she always got us.
Shout out the camera crew. My God, their dads.
Yes,
I'm
Yeah,
here, PJ
Dez,
Project.
PJ.
What you building?
And we also have
Him.
Yonkers Bids. Yep, Yonkers Bids. We got Yonkers Bids here recording us as well. She's getting all the threadworks as well. That's how live it is. So yeah, we have that, and then we have the last Friday of the month, so June 29th. Hopefully it's coming out. It's gonna come out after. But if you missed that one, you can come out to July 27th. It's the open mic. Come through, and then we got a talent show June 22nd, 6 p.m. at the library actually, and the tickets are free. The open mic is free and Threadworks is free, so you gotta come in here. It's lit.
And I mentioned a couple things going on in Yonkers. On June 22nd, they got the YPL annual talent show.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's at the Riverfront Library. So come through. Yo, if you win, you can win $1,000 cash, man. Cash prize. So definitely check that out. And shout out to Line Bikes.
Hey,
Line Gang.
They got
bikes are doing
OD fire.
I love it.
So they got a Line Bike updated. So you don't have to have a debit or credit card using that. Yo, so if you don't got that, you can go to CVS, Walgreens, 7-Eleven, Family Dollar, and you could get a Line Bike for $5. And Line Bike for $5. That's 100 rides, yo.
100 rides.
I'm about to see my son Denzel.
Yeah. Gang.
Get the Metro. No, we ride all the way to the city.
Yo, the crazy thing is, right? I called the cab the other day. One of my boys, he's a cab driver, right? So I always call. I try to support my locals. So I call him. I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? You around? Like, I need a cab. He's like, you going far? I was like, nah. He said, yo, take a Line Bike.
Yo, that Line Bike power is love, boy. Yo, so that's it, yo. That's it for this episode of RoseAboveIt, man. Shout out to everybody watching.
Yo, you can find me on Facebook.
Yes.
Email me,
Just
Stop and Shake Hector at Gmail. Stop AND Hector at Gmail. Stop and Shake Hector at Gmail. I'm sorry. Facebook Hector Santiago. Instagram The People's Mayor. Shout out to RoseAboveIt.
You're looking out, and that's it. RoseAboveIt podcast hats on sale. So
I get my hat.
That's the pen.
Get the merch. Get the merch.
Yo, that's a good episode, y'all.
Later.